This Imperium is ours. We fought for it. We built it with blood and sweat and wrath. We forged it with the worlds we took. The Empire is built upon foundations of our brothers' bones. We didn't rebel out of pity, spite, Sigismund. We rebelled because our Lord and Master played us false. We were useful tools to bring the galaxy to heel, but he would have cleansed us from the Imperium the way he purged the Thunder Legion before us, wiping us all from history like excrement from his golden boots.
The Imperium of Man has forged heroes and saints aplenty. Its righteous vision of a united species, lionizing humble souls and perfect demigods alike, for their valiant deeds made in the name of the Emperor. However, it must not be forgotten that the legacy of humanity has also spawned terrible monsters, twisted through malice, treachery, and bitterness. While statues still stand of legends epitomizing the Emperor's ideals, far more have been torn down of those who stood in opposition to the master of mankind. For today, we shall elucidate a warrior descended from the legacy of the Emperor's most cherished son, who abused each and every advantage possible to achieve his goals. The chosen war master of Chaos Undivided, Abaddon, the Despoiler. During the era of the 31st millennium, the Emperor required peerless warriors to embark upon his great crusade to reclaim the stars. 20 legions would be sired to raise soldiers made in the image of his noble sons, the Primarchs, each inheriting the virtues and strengths of their indomitable gene-sires. First among equals stood Horus Lupercal, protege of the Master of Mankind and leader of the 16th Legion, the Lunar Wolves. Drawing recruits from the homeworld of the Lupercal, Cophonia, this hive of warlords and criminal scum would prove a fitting recruitment ground to sire new members of this elite band of shock troopers, clad in marble ceramite. To lead such a band of killers, a soul of singular purpose and fortitude would be required. The rank of first captain of the Legiones Astartes, reserved only for men of superb martial skill and tactical brilliance. Within the streets of Cophonia, a young killer roamed, living in exile following the murder of his father, Ezekiel Abaddon. Imposing in stature, even as a mortal, the Cophonian people regarded this mysterious nomad with fear and begrudging respect, his reputation gaining the notice of Horus with his ascension as Primarch of the 16th Legion. Drafted into the fold of the Lunar Wolves, it would not take long for Abaddon to rise through the ranks, achieving the position of first captain mere years after his induction. Entrusted with an ornate suit of cataphracti pattern Terminator armor to contain his hulking form, his pedigree in battle would prove as the example for the elite first company to follow, the Justaerin. Alike to a warrior king of yore, Horus trusted his acolyte implicitly as his most capable commander, bodyguard, and advisor. His reputation known throughout the entirety of the Legiones Astartes, just as Horus was regarded as the most cherished of the Primarchs, so too did Abaddon benefit as the pinnacle of the Astartes creed. Forming a fraternity of brotherhood within the Lunar Wolves, the Mournival, to foster camaraderie and a means to share critiques, regardless of standing. The humility of Horus's demeanor was adopted by Abaddon to better his own standing as a leader of men. Standing at the side of 2nd Captain Tarek Torgadon, 4th Captain Little Horus Aximand, and 10th Captain Garviel Loken, the Mournival honored the sacrifices of distinguished fallen members such as Kashen, Minos, Berabadon, Deridadon, Caradon, Lytus, Janipur, Sirakul, and Hastur Sejanus. Yet as the 16th Legion's glories burgeoned with their Primarch's ascension to the position of War Master, just as their heraldry and title as the Sons of Horus changed, so too did their fortunes. Upon the world of Darwin, the clandestine schemes of the ruinous powers began to coalesce, aided by the manipulations of First Chaplain of the Word-Bearers, Erebus, while within the ranks of the War Master's retinue. Stealing the fell artifact, the Kinabrak Anaphame, from the splinter fleet of humanity, the Interrex, Erebus entrusted the weapon to the planetary governor of the compliant world of Darwin, as whispers of the plague god, Nurgle, began to take root within his soul. Returning to Darwin to find its surface festering with disgusting undead abominations, the Sons of Horus made planetfall, led by their Primarch, as they sought to destroy the heart of the world's corrupting influence. Confronting the disgustingly bloated form of Temba in single combat, the chaos-infused monster drove the edge of the Anaphame deep into Horus's flesh before being sundered by the War Master. Succumbing to the toxins coating its edge, Horus fell into a comatose state as Abaddon and his Mournival retrieved his body and returned it to the Apothecarion of their legion. Unable to revive the Primarch with the most advanced medical facilities available to them, the unnatural affliction had somehow bested the seemingly perfect immune system of their liege. Grief-stricken at the sight of his cherished Gene Father's condition, and desperate for any means to bring him back to health, Abaddon acceded to the advisements of Erebus to bring the War Master to the care of strange mystic healers located on the nearby moon of Darwin. In truth, servants of the ruinous powers, despite the protestation of Tarek Torgadon and Garviel Loken, Abaddon allowed the Chaos Sorcerers to administer to the wounds of Horus. Restored in body, but not in mind, the Lupercal rose with bitterness in his heart and treachery in his soul, the malevolent power coursing through him, nurturing his self-doubt into a weapon which could be turned against the Emperor. Relieved to see his master restored, Abaddon blindly followed the example set by his War Master, unquestioning in his allegiance to continue to serve, as the first act of treachery marked the beginning of the Horus heresy. Purging the ranks of his own legion, of those whose loyalties to the Master of Mankind eclipsed that of their Primarch, upon the soil of Istvan Free, Abaddon ordered his once trusted brethren, Loken and Torgadon, to purge the planet of rebellious human elements. Unleashing devastation upon the loyalists who fought and bled on its surface, Abaddon observed the death of thousands of his kinsmen, ordained unworthy by his master. Purging the surviving resistance, alongside the legions of the Emperor's children, World Eaters and Death Guard, Ezekiel alongside his brother Aximand confronted their Mournival brothers. As Aximand slew Torgadon in single combat, Abaddon clashed with Loken, injuring the 10th captain before withdrawing to allow the guns of the Vengeful Spirit to bury the wounded wolf beneath the debris wrought by its bombardment. Over the next 7 years of brutal conflict, the Sons of Horus preyed on the fragmented loyalist outposts among the stars. Complicit in the shattering of the Iron Hands, Salamanders and Raven Guard during the Istvan V Dropside Massacre, as would be characteristic for the remainder of the war, the Sons of Horus would be held in reserve. Deployed only for the most dangerous and important missions, the Blackclad Justaerin elite, with Abaddon at their speartip, were unleashed only sparingly, whilst Horus selfishly hurled his brother legions into the fray in order to preserve his own men. Confronted by Garviel Loken at the head of his band of orphaned Astartes, the Knights Errant, during their infiltration of the Vengeful Spirit, years following the Istvan Free atrocity, Abaddon's men forced his wayward kinsmen to submit before bringing them to the feet of his Primarch to be judged. Offering Loken a chance to rejoin the Sons of Horus to fight by his side once more, Garviel Loken refused to betray the will of the Emperor. Escaping the clutches of death once more, Loken's strike force had paved the way for the Space Wolves Legion to board the War Master's flagship, laying runic markings to lead them straight to the ship's epicenter, the Lupercal's court. Observing the War Master's injury at the hands of the Wolf King, Leman Russ, the wound inflicted by the Dionysian spear galvanized the stranglehold of the ruinous powers over their champion. Wary of his Primarch's seeming lack of free will, as the tendrils of chaos bored deeper into his soul, Abaddon, regardless of the events of the Battle of Yarant, rallied his forces to make the final push to the throne world. Unleashing the full might of the traitor rebellion upon Terra, the War Master's civil war culminated in the single most devastating battle ever waged by humanity. Untold billions of mortals and thousands of Astartes soaked the earth of Terra with their blood. Yet for all the battles waged to push into the heart of the Imperial Palace, the War Master himself remained far from the front lines. Too valuable to be lost in the meat grinder of war, Abaddon fought in the place of his Genesire, growing restless with the stubborn defiance of the Loyalists and ever more disdainful of the War Master's absence. Leading a surgical strike to infiltrate the Imperial Palace orchestrated by the Iron Warriors Primarch, Perturabo, Abaddon came close to perishing at the hands of the combined might of Nathaniel Garro, Bel Sepatus, and Endred Har, killing the Riven Hound and Blood Angel during the 13-minute-long melee despite incurring several mortal wounds. Escaping from the disastrous battle as the siege began to protract to the traitor's detriment, drastic matters were required to conclude the battle, for reinforcements of the Dark Angels and Ultramarines would soon join the fray. Upon the bridge of the Vengeful Spirit, the climactic final battle for humanity waged, the Master of Mankind himself dueling the Champion of Chaos, as Abaddon, allied with the Wordbearers, stalled the Custodian Guard from aiding the Emperor. Knowing even his skill to be insufficient when facing the Captain General of the Golden Host, Constantin Valdor, Abaddon allowed the influence of chaos to briefly empower his form. Grabbing the Apollonian spear by its tip as Abaddon's blood dripped from his clutched fist around its blade, Valdor saw in an instant the destiny of this terrible foe. Its innate ability to grant insight into those it cut directly to its master, Valdor uttered a single word following the terrible influx of knowledge: Despoiler. Letting go of the spear in an act unthinkable of any member of the Legio Custodes, Valdor struck Abaddon with his fist before being jettisoned from the ship's confines. Horus Lupercal was destined to perish at the hands of the Emperor, yet Valdor had bore witness to the terrible future which his inheritor would enact. With the War Master slain, the traitors withdrew from the siege, the lifeless body of Horus held tightly by Abaddon as he detached his power claw and vowed to one day use its talons to rend what remained of the Emperor to ribbons. Once more reuniting with Gavial Loken, as the sons of Horus beheld the corpse of their once noble liege, Abaddon refused to kill his kinsman, with no cause left to fight for. Offering Abaddon and his Justerin a chance to surrender, Loken, for all their differences, promised to negotiate leniency from Primarch Rabute Guilliman when the Ultramarines inevitably reached Terra. Stabbed in the back by Erebus, to prevent any chance of reconciliation, Loken's lifeless body fell into the arms of Abaddon as the life fled from his body. Retreating with the Vengeful Spirit, as the Loyalists rushed to inter the Emperor upon the Golden Throne, the final opportunity for Ezekal to turn from the path of utter damnation was gone. For now, the ruinous powers required a new champion to carry out their malevolent desires. Escaping the wrath of the Great Scouring for many years, Ezekal Abaddon roamed the stars as a pilgrim seeking purpose. His homeworld, Cathonia, ground to dust by the Loyalists, his gene-sized very soul cleansed from existence, and Legion devoid of a cause to fight for, Abaddon abandoned his men as they took refuge within the Eye of Terror. Harassed by the broken remnants of their former allies, as traitor Astartes fought for petty ambitions and power, nothing of value could tempt the former First Captain to join the Legion Wars. Wandering the expanse of the Eye of Terror, alone, within the deepest recesses of the Immaterium, Abaddon busied himself uncovering the mysteries which the ruinous powers so greedily obscured. His dark pilgrimage, encompassing thousands of worlds within the Ocularis Terribus, with the passage of a millennia, the sons of Horus constructed a new headquarters upon the demon world of Malium. Interring the body of Horus within a great tomb, the Lupercalios, despite the Legion's fortification of a vast stronghold around the mausoleum, stagnation began to spread within their ranks. Their disorganization leading to the theft of the War Master's corpse by the Emperor's children, now fully empowered by she who firsts, Slaanesh. Under orders of their chief apothecary, Fabius Bile, the 3rd Legion delivered the Lupercal's body to his care on the world of Harmony, as he conducted experiments to recreate the genius crafted by the Emperor. Following the utter devastation of the Lupercalios, acting commander of the Sons of Horus, Falcus Kyber, allied with the warband leaders, Thousand Sun sorcerer Iskandor Kion, and World Eater Leovine Ukris. Assembling his allies within the derelict Voidcraft, his chosen son, the Widowmaker, informed them of the fall of the monument of Horus and danger posed by Fabius's toil. Should the Spider achieve his goal of crafting a Primarch to bend to his own will, his legion of reprobates would be unstoppable. The danger posed by such a power imbalance, threatening to destroy the few vestiges of power that they each in turn possessed. Seeking out the vengeful spirit to recruit its vast arsenal and master to lead their cause, Kyber and his allies located the Gloriana vessel, which had eluded so many for centuries of exploration, with the insight of the jaded son of Lorgar Aurelian, Sargon. Having cast aside the teachings of his own Primarch, Sargon, though no longer capable of speech due to his plasma burn injury incurred during the Battle of Terror, spoke through the reanimated corpses of the fallen to direct their venture to the radiant worlds of the Elysian Vale. Locating the warp storm, blockaded by a fleet of Emperor's Children voidcraft, Kyber's 5 warships, outnumbered by 7, required a parley to allow for safe passage. Meeting with the warband's leader, Cadalus Orlantia, upon his flagship, the Perfection's Lament, the Chemosian commander demanded they hand over Sargon. Refusing to give up the former word-bearer, the pilgrims escaped the ensuing skirmish thanks to Kion's mastery of sorcery. Breaching the blockade and venturing to the Elysian Vale, Kion's insight into the secret webway pathways of the Avernus Breach proved crucial in allowing his vessel, the Talalok, to reach the Radiant Worlds. Descending upon the remnants of the former Eldar world of Ayes Sayaral, the Heart Song, Kyber and his band of warriors discovered the buried remains of the vengeful spirit. Searching its vast confines for any signs of life, eventually, after hours of searching, the form of a giant stood within the darkness. Clad in armor, scavenged from every traitor legion, 2 gleaming eyes of gold stared from behind a mass of long, clustered black hair. Beholding the scarred face of Ezekiel Abaddon, Kyber and his allies beseeched the former first captain to return to the fold of the traitor struggle. Explaining that he had summoned them to his presence intentionally, it was Abaddon that had dispatched Sargon to lure them to the vengeful spirit. Recognizing this band of misfits to be bereft of their Genefather's guidance, nor loyalty to their legions of origin, Sargon's insights had seen in them a catalyst to restore the war against the Imperium anew. Understanding the need to prevent the sacrificed king from once again dooming what remained of their forces to another fruitless conflict, Abaddon's hopes of allowing his legion to die with some fragment of dignity was now dashed by the temerity of the Emperor's children. Offering the assembled Astartes a chance to form a new creed under his banner, to once again fight as soldiers rather than squabbling rabble, his new Black Legion would echo forevermore, not as barbarians struggling for scraps, but a true army seeking nothing less than dominion of the void. A true war, the Long War, would from the ashes of defeat surpass everything his failed father had hoped to achieve, and they would do it without his influence nor objective to offer humanity conquered to the capricious, ruinous powers. United in purpose, Abaddon's Ezekarion gathered upon the bridge of the vengeful spirit and ventured to Fabius Baal's stronghold of harmony, the Canticle City, Iskander Kion enduring several months of meditation, dragging his unmanned vessel, the Talalok, with them. Arriving in orbit of harmony, Kion hurled his immense 8-megaton voidcraft to collide with the Canticle City. The destruction wrought from the gargantuan impact, causing tectonic shifts and obliterating its target. Picking off fleeing vessels, escaping the death of the planet with the guns of the vengeful spirit, Sargon identified that the Luna-class cruiser, Pulchridudinus, housed their charge. Boarding the vessel, regarded by the 3rd Legion as the Flesh Market, the Ezekarion confronted Fabius Baal and demanded he surrender the Primarch's body. Observing the imposing form of Horus, clutching the immense power maul, Worldbreaker, Abaddon wielded the talon which he had claimed, the blood of the great angel and master of mankind still staining its edge. Catching the strike of Worldbreaker within his talon, Abaddon broke its haft with his grip, before driving its 5 keen-edged claws deep into the chest of his cloned Genesire, and firing a volley of 6 bolts from its wrist-mounted Stormbolter. Destroying all trace of the Clone Lord's experiments to recreate the Primarchs, Abaddon usurped the legacy of the Lupercal, and anointed himself as the true War Master of Chaos. His last words spoken to the slain Lupercal moments before his demise.
I am not your son.
Cannibalizing the remnants of the Sons of Horus and aimless warbands into the fold of his new Black Legion, from shame and shadow, they would be recast, in black and gold reborn. Allowing for praise of or rejection of any of the Pantheon, all were welcome to pledge their fealty to the Band of the Despoiler, their pledge to follow his orders in efforts to overthrow the corpse emperor of mankind, all that was demanded. Slaughtering any who refused his offer to join the Black Legion. None remained of the former Sons of Horus who could contest his reign as the true inheritor of the Lupercal. Those who betrayed their oaths were relentlessly purged by the most capable servants of the War Master, forging alliances with warbands who proved capable in collaborating with his ambitions. Even the Demon Primarchs accede to the demands of the Despoiler should their objectives align. Repainting their ceramite, no matter its former configuration nor heraldry, into black and gold. The sight of the heralds of the Long War promises slaughter on a scale not seen since the darkest days of the Great Civil War. Bestowed the mark of Chaos Ascendant as proof of the favor of the entire Pantheon of Chaos, Abaddon is perhaps the single most deadly foe the Imperium has ever faced. Shrugging off direct volleys from even Baneblade tanks due to the layers of demonic wards and protections to his already impressive panoply of war, his ancient Cataphracti Terminator armor incorporates several runes and technological marvels. Armed with the Talon of Horus, still stained with the blood of the Emperor, Sanguinius, and Horus, this relic of murder exudes an aura of distilled evil, which disturbs all who near its presence. Claiming the demon sword, Draknien, containing the echo of the first human murder, the Shard of Madness hungers for the chance to slay the Emperor, empowering its edge to carve through almost any defense. Launching a number of Black Crusades over the course of 10 millennia, though few understand the objectives of Abaddon's campaigns, it is said that all have been crucial to paving his patient path to destroy the Throne World. Most infamous of all such conflicts would be known as the 13th Black Crusade, the fallout from such calamity destroying the fortress world of Cadia, which has led to the birth of the Cicatrix Maledictum, cleaving the galaxy in twain. Learning of the resurgence of the Avenging Sun, Rabute Guilliman, following the destruction of Cadia, Abaddon dispatched his Black Legion to lay siege to Ultramar itself, hoping to prevent the revival of Rabute Guilliman and resurgence of the Imperium. Driven from Macragge by the Lord of Ultramar, though the Black Legion failed to defeat the Ultramarines, they had nonetheless inflicted a crippling blow upon Ultramar, which the forces of the Death Guard and their Primarch, Mortarion, would exploit during the Plague Wars. Humbling the Lord of Macragge, Marneus Calgar, during the Vigilus campaign, despite the best efforts of the venerated Chapter Master of the Ultramarines, his duel with the Despoiler incurred wounds to both his hearts, despite breaking Abaddon's jaw. Laying waste to countless fiefdoms, pillaging untold riches to achieve his ultimate goal, his alliance with the Chaos entity, Vashtor the Archifane, during the Arcs of Omen campaign, has emboldened the Despoiler to new heights of power. Aiding the Lords of the Forge of Souls by retrieving the fragments of a key of bone and brass, upon the homeworld of the Iron Angel Space Marine chapter, Maglodor, Abaddon slew its chapter master and laid claim to the first piece of the key. Rallying all his subjects to seek out the remaining fragments, Abaddon witnessed the summoning of dozens of Space Hulks, known as the Arcs of Omen by the Archifane. Entrusting his most capable commanders to helm each Space Hulk as reward for service pledged, Abaddon's Bale fleets sowed ruin and devastation upon all corners of the void in search of the ominous relics. Collaborating with the Red Angel, Angron, and his resurgent legion of the World Eaters to lay siege to the world of Malak Bale, their hatred of all psychic phenomena fueled their purge of the beacon known as the Coral Engine. Sundering the beacon during the Battle of Malak and unleashing a murder curse from its explosion, a warp rift of immense size erupted, spilling forth demons of the Blood God, allowing Vashtor to retrieve its core once the din of battle subsided. As Vashtor harried the forces of the Dark Angels, wary of the awakening of their indomitable Primarch Lionel Johnson, though the first Demon Prince of Chaos, Be'lakor, had been dispatched to fight beside the Archivane, it proved to be an unreliable ally. Whilst the Bale fleet of Ugalax the Soul Eater confronted the Farsight enclaves under orders of Abaddon upon the world of Arthas Moloch, the Despoiler oversaw the reconstitution of the Fel Key fragments within the Somnium Stars. Combating the Dark Angels upon their rebuilt world, once known as Caliban, upon the now demon world known as Wormwood, culminated the final battle of the campaign. Abaddon, Vashtor, and Angron beset Wormwood with all their remaining strength, yet as the battle reached its zenith, Lionel Johnson, by the side of his risen angels, descended upon the forces of chaos. Supported by the Blood Angels, led by Lord Commander Dante, the Loyalists attempted to banish the pawns of the ruinous powers. The Lion spearheaded the battle, banishing the Red Angel. Yet for all the valor of the Loyalists, Abaddon and his allies carried the day, activating Wormwood as the final piece of the key to Vashtor's ambitions. For Abaddon, unlike his Genesire, is a patient war master. His carefully laid plans and alliances, 10 millennia in the making, slowly suffocating the life from his most hated Imperium.
"He's dead," says Loken. "There's nothing left."
Abaddon stares at him. His warplate is gouged and cracked, and his cheek is caked in dried blood. His sword hangs in his hand. His eyes are sunken and lost, his cheeks drawn, his skin pale and feverish. He looks exhausted and famished, as though stricken by some wasting disease.
Dead,
he echoes. Loken nods.
Why are you here, Loken?
Abaddon asks. "I stayed with him," says Loken. "He was alone." "Not anymore," whispers Sykar.
The Master of the Justerin is edging to the left of Abaddon, and Meraxa is moving out to Abaddon's right. They intend to encircle him. Abaddon is simply gazing at his father's corpse.
"No, not anymore, Hellas," says Loken. "His sons are with him. I think he would be grateful for that." "His sons, eh?" Sykar rumbles. "Yes," says Loken. "Do you intend to fight me, Sykar? More blood, after all that's been spent."
"Your blood,"
says Sykar. He has circled almost around to Loken's right flank, and Meraxa is now on his left.
"We'll see, if we have to," says Loken.
The Master of the Justerin sees the look in Loken's eyes.
"This traitor should not be here,"
Sykar says to Abaddon.
"Traitor," says Loken. He smiles. "Really? From your lips, Sykar?"
"You know what you are,"
says Meraxa.
"I do. I absolutely do, Azelas. Do you?"
Sykar begins his move, a telltale hum of his Terminator plate, as it powers for a lunge.
"Stop,"
says Abaddon.
"Stop, Sykar. I said stop. You too, Meraxa. Just stop."
Meraxa lowers his blade, frowning. Sykar glares at the first captain, and then takes a step back.
"You want me for yourself then, Ezekiel?" says Loken.
Abaddon draws near and takes a pace forward, face to face. They stare at each other. Abaddon shakes his head.
"No,"
he says.
"No more killing. No more of it, Loken. There are far too few of us to turn on each other again."
"I agree."
Abaddon isn't really looking at him anymore. His gaze is fixed on his father's corpse.
"You waited here?"
he asks.
"As I said."
"Yes, of course,"
says Abaddon. He moves past Loken and kneels. He gently places his hand on his father's body.
"That was the right thing to do. The respectful thing. A fine warrior is owed that, no matter what."
He shakes his head. He withdraws his hand.
"Horus was a fool. Our father was a fool."
"He was a puppet, Ezekiel. He was made a puppet. Chaos chose him, and used him, and discarded him."
"Discarded him?"
"Yes. In the end."
"Because he wasn't enough."
"Because he was too much. He was the most terrible thing, Ezekiel. He was absolute and everything. But he was also Horus. He didn't want gifts and tributes. He didn't want to be a puppet, or some pawn of the old four. He wanted to rule. He wanted control."
"Control?"
Abaddon replies sharply. He looks at Loken.
Control?
Loken nods. It was the one thing they wouldn't give him. Power, yes, but the authority to use that power, no. He was just a weapon to them, a weapon to kill the one thing that threatened them, a weapon to end the human race. They were never going to let us live. They were never going to let him rule anything.
And you know this?
Asks Sykar. I was there. Abaddon rises to his feet.
Then he was a fool, he says. He was a fool to have believed otherwise. I warned him. I feared for him. I tried to make him see sense. He wouldn't listen.
He was Horus Lupercal, says Loken. I loved him, Ezekyle. But it was never easy to tell him things when his mind was set, and he had not set his mind himself. He was no fool, but he was played for one. Abaddon makes no reply. Do not make the same mistake, Ezekyle.
I will not,
says Abaddon quietly.
I will not be made a fool. That is never going to happen to me.
Abaddon turns to him. He clears his throat.
I believed in the Imperium, and it betrayed me. I believed in my father, and he disappointed me. I will never be beholden to anything or anyone again. I will follow no one, no Primarch, no demon. I will lead.
Then lead wisely. And I ask you, Ezekyle, lead what? Abaddon stares at Loken for a second.
I have the authority now, Loken. As first captain, I am the heir to command. Do you oppose that?
No.
We are trying to right the ship, to make some running repairs and restart the drives.
That won't be easy. The damage is severe.
Indeed. Not easy at all, but the Vengeful Spirit has always been a resolute vessel. Strong, enduring. We have made a start. We will see how far we get.
That's your plan.
Would you advise differently?
I would advise surrender, says Loken. He hears Sykar snort.
We don't surrender, Loken.
No, but a coming to terms would be the best conclusion. There's nowhere to run, not in a wounded ship, and the forces that are coming for you are fired with vengeance. This war will persist until the galaxy ends, unless one side lowers its guard. Chaos is fled, it's gone. There will be others like you, Ezekyle, others of your cause who regret their actions, or who were misled and duped, or who have simply seen the error of their ways. But if the first captain of the 16th sets an example, they would follow you.
Guilliman will kill us,
says Baraxa. Guilliman wants the Imperium restored. He wants it whole again. I believe, if the terms were right, he would accept the return of Astartes' brothers and spare them. He doesn't want to lose 9 legions. There was a mistake, born of misunderstanding. Not all of your side are beyond redemption. So set an example. Begin the process. Bring others with you and demonstrate your contrition.
It's too late for that,
snaps Sykar. It's better that than the alternative. A crusade to hunt you all down, to exterminate you all, to scour you from the stars. This civil war, perpetuated under a new name. No mercy, no quarter, no forgiveness. Where would you even begin to run?
I'll think of somewhere.
Ezekyle.
Azaelis is right, Loken. Guilliman will kill us. He will never forgive what we have done. He will never accept that we were right and our grievances justified.
Guilliman wasn't here, but Dorn was. He understands it better. He might listen, and he is the Praetorian after all. Ezekyle, if you are prepared to commit to this course, truly prepared, I would go to him. I would speak to Dorn on behalf of the 16th. I would make your case and negotiate terms. I mean it. I will swear an oath to it if you want me to. He would listen to me. I know it.
You would do that?
I'd do it for my legion, and for the honor it once had. I would do it for our father, as he was before this darkness fell. Loken stares down at the corpse. And I think he would want me to. My life for Lupercal. I can't give it to him now, but I can give it to his memory. Abaddon is silent for a moment.
And if I decide to reject your offer? If I decide to fight on, will you oppose me?
I'm not in a position to, Ezekyle. Will you kill me?
No, Garviel. No, I won't. I can use all the brothers I can get.
I won't fight for you, and I won't run with you. And I will come after you, at your heels, and remind you, every hour of every day, that my offer still stands.
Some more, Neval,
Abaddon murmurs. So?
You were always the idealist, Loken. Always. I was the pragmatist. The legions built the Imperium, through blood and sacrifice, and the Emperor would have discarded us. He would have cut our throats to make way for the human ascendancy. They would have no Imperium but for us. The betrayal is unconscionable, and our outrage burns as bright as ever. I'm sorry. This is a time for pragmatism. We're going to run. Fight for our birthright. Fight for what is owed us. Fight for our lives if we have to. That's the way it is. My decision. You can come with us, or you can go. I won't stop you.
Loken sighs. He starts to speak. Blood comes out of his mouth in place of words. Eyes wide, he falls forward into Abaddon. Abaddon catches him and lowers him in horror to the deck.
What did you do?
Abaddon snarls. Erebus slides his aphame out of Loken's back and whips blood from the blade with a flick of his wrist.
He opposed you from the start,
says Erebus.
He wasn't about to stop. He was a traitor to your legion.
Abaddon rises. His sword comes up and jabs against the word-bearer's throat. Erebus does not flinch.
What did you do?
This has been a tale of the Great Imperium of Man, read by the Remembrancer. The Despoiler's rampage across the stars characterizes the very worst failings of our species. Pride, bitterness, and resentment all fuel the War Master's gambit to overthrow the Imperium, squandering all chance for reconciliation in exchange for an empire of spite. Regardless of his skill, knowledge, and reputation, blind loyalty to a doomed dream binds the Despoiler to spread misery in his wake. Vindication for his mistreatment upheld as justification for his actions. No injustice can be absolved by further wrongdoing, and it is all too easy to cast oneself as a victim in order to legitimize evil. So in order to remain virtuous, practice consideration, humility, and be wary of your own indiscretion.